Noah, I think I figured out the Cavs draft strategy.
What's that, E?
As long as you're under 6'5" and play guard, we're probably going to pick you. Cavs with the 34th pick in the NBA draft select, as we said, a guard out of Arkansas, John Calipari player, Meleek Thomas.
Meleek Thomas is an interesting prospect. He was a one and done, even though he wasn't projected to go super high in this draft. So he's young, he's moldable. I think that's what the Cavs like about him. But I'll let Koby Altman talk a little bit about the pick before we get into it, because he explains the thought process of picking where they picked in the NBA draft.
When you're picking at 34, you don't have the luxury to say, "Oh, let's pick for fit." We pick for a player that had the skill set that we see every day in the NBA, and that skill set is very transferable.
And I normally would agree with him, but with how deep this NBA draft was and some of the prospects that were there on the board, I think we could have gotten a skill set and a positional fit in a big forward slash center. I'm talking about Henry Vassar from North Carolina. That was a big one in the Cavs fandom. But there was also Trayvon Brazel from Arkansas, another Arkansas player. There were some players that could have fit in terms of this Cavs roster right now that I think has frustrated most people, at least on my timeline, with the pick.
Well, I think it's clear that we're drafting for the future and not the now. This kid is good. Don't get me. I mean, he's an SEC all freshman. He shot very well. He shot 44% from the floor, 41% from the perimeter, 84% from the free throw line. So you're getting an effective shooter that the Cavs thought was a first round talent that fell to the second round. So I think that the draft strategy does make sense because there was no, but picking at 34, I get the names that you're talking about. They're not an immediate day one starter impact player, though. So keeping that in mind and what we're doing as a roster to try to compete for a championship, which is making moves within the existing NBA structure and moving around players, I think this pick is just fine.
I think Henry V Star could have slotted in and been a nice rotational big for us right away. He has 3-point ability. He has a lot going on there. And I'm talking about him a ton. But what really ended up happening with him is what we saw happen for us in terms of the NBA draft last year, where Visar's agent was basically telling teams not to draft him so he could go to the situation he wanted to in the Atlanta Hawks, which he ended up going to at pick 52. Even though that happened, I still think there was an argument to be made for some of those forwards that were there, especially when you start talking about how many guards we have on this Cleveland Cavaliers roster. And I want to talk to you more about that. But first, let's listen to a word from our sponsor.
At the Office is brought to you by Rambler Reserve.
And we're wearing the hats right now.
We are wearing the hats right now, and honestly, this might be one of the best looking things I've put on my head in years.
Rambler Reserve is a Cleveland apparel brand based on history for people who love this city and just can't shut up about it.
So, us?
Us, exactly. Whether it be hats, tees, hoodies, you're going to the game, or you're going to the Muni lot. It's perfect apparel for any Cleveland fan out there.
If your friends say you ramble too much about sports, just own it. Head on over to ramblerreserve.com and use code ATO10 to get 10% off your order.
That's ATO10. ATO like at the office 10, ramblerreserve.com.
Let's jump back into it, Noah, because you don't like that we're drafting a guard because we have too many on this team. But I would argue in about 2 years' time, this team and the team full of guards is going to look very different.
Yeah, but we also have to worry about right now. So I pulled up all the players that are guards or tend to play guards for us. So there's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 possible guards on this roster right now, including Tyrese Proctor, who we drafted last year, who we think and thought could maybe get some meaningful minutes for us in year one and will continue to get meaningful minutes for this team. So there's that. Dennis Schroeder's on this list. We'll talk about him in a second because I think a trade for him is all but coming, especially with his contract and some of the other moves we talked about last week here on the page. There's Keon Ellis, who is a free agent, but you would think maybe we would try to bring him back because we traded DeAndre Hunter for him. Now that's up in the air. Then you have Sam Merrill. You opted back into Craig Porter Jr.'s deal. Like, there are so many guards in this roster that it's a logjam. Like, you need to switch something. Am I wrong?
I don't know that you need to right this second. No.
with 10, did I say 10 guards? That's like more than half of an NBA roster. You're only allowed to roster 15 on your regular with like two ways.
Yeah, but we know Dennis Schroeder's going to be gone. We know Harden's not a long-term player for this team. Max Strus, I don't think will be along for the long term. I like you already start narrowing this list down. I get what you're saying here, but I think we got a steal of the draft. I mean, he's known as a gym rat. He is a guy that like just works and works and works. I think we're going to say a couple years from now that man, that was a really good pick, and not worry about Keon Ellis, who what has maybe potential. You're splitting hairs at a certain point. You know what I mean? Like you're saying guys that aren't going to be on this roster, guys that are really old on this roster, guys that just aren't good enough. Like they show a little bit of potential, but aren't good enough. That's I don't care about those guys at the end of the day.
You bring Keon Ellis in because of his defense, right? Like that was the main attractive part of bringing him and Dennis Schroeder in. Meleek Thomas is not very good at defense right now. Like he's not a complete scrub, but he's not great. He's known for his shooting. That's what he's best at. So you think about the roster construction for the right now because that matters too. Like there's only so many roster spots. There's only so many spots in the G League that you can use to stash, hide, and move around these players. So Ellis maybe is out, but I want to talk about Dennis Schroeder too because he was one of your favorites once we got him with his junkyard dog energy and whatnot. What do you think is going to happen with him? Do you think he's all but gone and he's on to his 15th, 16th, 17th, 18th NBA team?
I don't know. Maybe, I didn't feel like we utilized him as best as we possibly could, just to be honest. I think we saw some flaws with Kenny Atkinson's lineups at times. That's all. I'll leave it at that. We don't need to rehash any of that. I think that the player that is going to be more uncomfortable, honestly, is Porter Jr. I know we just exercised that option, but I think he could be included in a trade deal. I think Schroeder too, because of the salary, honestly. Like, listen, I get that this isn't a seamless fit or anything like that. I think he's going to come in on a two-way contract. You're going to see him both in the G League and the league itself. And we're going to play around with this. But I truly believe that they stole first round talent in the second round.
I hope you're right in terms of the long-term case of the Cleveland Cavaliers. Like, I totally hope you're right. I just think that there were players that fit the roster construction of the right now and potentially the later. Like, I'm again talking about forwards and centers, right? And that is what we need the most in terms of depth on our roster now and potentially in the future. In our previous Cavs video, where we were talking about maybe dealing Jared Allen, we were talking about maybe dealing Evan Mobley. Like, we need to bring in depth at that position for sure. If you're going to especially bring in not guards, excuse me, forwards like LeBron James and Jaylen Brown, like you're basically giving up every true center you have on the roster. And I know there's other ways you could bring that in, but the roster construction is just so wonky at this point. It's so lopsided that you have to do something with a lot of these players. And, you're talking about some of the names that are on this list. Like, what about Tyrese Proctor? We just got him too, and he's supposed to be a steal of a deal, maybe first round talent. Like we are excited about him last year. So we're doing that again with another guy. Where's the fit? What's the long-term thought process? I get the idea of going out there and grabbing a guy that you think is more talented than the rest. But at some point, it's not like it's a football team. There's only so many spots you can put out there. It's not like you could draft a tackle that could slot to the guard or center like you can in the NFL. Like a guard's a guard's a guard. None of them are going to go play in the post.
Well, I think there's two things at play here. I think first of all, who we drafted in Meleek, he's a shot creator, and I think what we've seen when we've gone ice cold, I think they want that. He's also like you said that he's not quite there defensively. He's decent defensively. I know he's only 6'3", but he has a 6'7" wingspan, and he averaged 2 steals a game at Arkansas, so he's no slouch on the defensive end of the floor. I get what you're saying. Like we seem to just be collecting guards and stashing them where we can. There's only 5 players that get to play at a time, right? And at max, you're getting like 10 total in a game. So I get where you're coming from with that. I just think that this is a kid and a player that can develop more quickly than if we had picked a big man, picked a post man, etc. And I think that's what they value right now.
To look at the other side of the coin, because I've been decently fiery about this, John Calipari is really good about developing guards, so that's a good sign. Like and Koby Altman in that interview we played earlier talked about how much they have respect for the Arkansas program too, and the guards that come out of there. That's part of the reason they liked this kid. I get that. I understand that. There's just, to me, at the same time, it's the same argument for me. It's the same, well, there's only so many spots, and I understand what you're saying, and I hope you're right, and I do see a pathway, especially because of his ability to create and score. Like, I'm gonna be excited to watch him at charge games, because I go to like 2 or 3 of those a year, especially when it's cold and there's not for shit to do here in downtown Cleveland. Like, I'm over there in Public Hall hanging out, having a $2 beer. Like, I'm excited to watch him, don't get me wrong, and I'm not dragging him because I do think he has potential. I just don't know if it makes sense for us. So I'm more so pointing the finger at the front office, at the coaching staff, and asking, why did we do this? Why do we only want to draft guards that are under 6'5" and only play guard, as we joked at the beginning of the video?
Well, speaking of John Calipari, he compared him to Rip Hamilton, the famous Piston, of course. He's been to a lot of camps with Chris Paul's basketball camps, and Chris
Yeah.
Paul said of him that he could run through a brick wall. I really like the attention of him being a gym rat is what is appealing to me. I forget what his quote was. It was something along the lines of, he said, "The work is going to show for itself in due time. Everybody gonna wake up and realize." That's what he said after he was drafted. Like, he has that fire, and that's not something that you can coach. That's not something you're either born with it or you're not. That's my favorite part of this kid. Time will tell, right? Like anything. We didn't get an immediate contributor. I'm not sure that that's what we needed. We need changes, don't get me wrong. And I get it, we're guard heavy, but that fire that can't be coached, I don't know. I'm excited to track his career, and who knows, maybe it'll go nowhere, but with some of the things that people are saying about him and that we're stealing a first round talent here, I'll take it.
Yeah, it is to note that the national media loved this pick. I think the lowest grade I saw us get was like a B plus or something like that, and it was like a smaller publication, I'm pretty sure. So the media loves this pick. My argument, my thought process at the end of the day, and you say we don't need a immediate contributor. I don't think that's what we were going for. I don't think that's what we needed to do or go for now either, but we could have, and that's my issue here. I think the ability to get someone that could have been an immediate contributor, or at least grown into the role of a contributor by the end of the regular season, was there. And instead, we went the developmental route. And that's what's frustrating to me. Hopefully, Meleek Thomas pans out. Hopefully, he looks great. Hopefully, he doesn't fizzle out and become one of those G League guys that we, attach ourselves to and get excited about. Because trust me, there's been a ton of those. Amani Bates is an example. Time will tell, and we will see what will happen with Meleek Thomas. I can't wait to watch him over with the Canton Charge. Not even the Canton Charge, it's the Cleveland
Yeah,
Charge now.
Cleveland.
Where am I? 2012? Anyway, let us know what you think of the pick down below. I know there's a lot of people that felt very strongly about this despite it being a second round pick. So I want to hear your opinion down below. And if you're really upset with the front office, give us a call, 216-260-3433.
On that note, the debate never ends, but the show does for now. We'll see you next time.